Visualizing Technology, Chapter 10, Security and Privacy. In this chapter, we will explain and discuss computer security and privacy. Our objectives for this chapter include discussing the various types of cybercrime, differentiating between the different types of malware, explaining how to secure a computer, discussing safe computing practices, reviewing laws related to computer security and privacy, and finally, identify the certifications and careers related to computer security and privacy. In our first objective, cybercrime, they're out to get you, we will define cybercrime and how it affects online activity. Then discuss the various types of cybercrime, including harassment, phishing, pharming, fraud, identity theft, and hacking. Some of the terms that we will discuss will include computer fraud, cyberbullying, cybercrime, cyberstalking, cyberterrorism, hacking, identity theft, pharming, and finally phishing. Cybercrime is a criminal activity on the Internet. There are two types of cybercrime: personal and that against organizations. Harassment, phishing, pharming, fraud, and identity theft are all types of personal cybercrimes. Hacking is the #1 cybercrime against organizations. Harassment, a form of personal cybercrime, has grown exponentially with the popularity of today's social networks. Harassment includes both cyberbullying and cyberstalking. Cyberbullying occurs when an online harassment involves minors, whereas cyberstalking occurs when the harassment involves adults. Regardless of whether we're talking about cyberbullying or cyberstalking, harassers will use email, instant messaging, chat, text messages, and social networks to embarrass, torment, or threaten someone. Another form of personal cybercrime, which has seen exponential growth in the last couple of years, is that of phishing and pharming. Phishing uses email messages and instant messages that appear to be from those you do business with, such as your bank. They are designed to trick you into providing usernames and passwords to your personal accounts. Pharming, however, redirects you to a phony website even if you type the right address into the browser. They do this by hijacking the company's domain that has not been renewed, or the security has been compromised on the company's web servers. Both phishing and pharming work because they seem to be messages from legitimate sites. Fraud and identity theft are also personal cybercrimes. Computer fraud involves schemes that convince you to voluntarily and knowingly give money or property to a person, whereas identity theft occurs when someone uses your name or social security number or bank and credit card information for financial gain. Hacking is a cyber crime that relates to business. Hacking is the act of gaining unauthorized access to a computer system or network of a corporation or organization. Hacking is classified into 3 categories. White hat. These are hackers that are motivated to find security holes in the system for the purpose of preventing future hackers. Often referred to as sneakers, they are security experts who are paid to hack into a company's network or computer system for the purpose of identifying potential weaknesses within that system. Black hat hackers hack into systems for malicious purposes, such as theft or vandalism. Black hat hackers are sometimes referred to as crackers. Finally, gray hat hackers fall somewhere in between. They hack into systems illegally, but not for a malicious intent. They might break into a system just to prove that they can or to expose a system's vulnerability. Cyber terrorism is another form of cybercrime relating to business, only with a broader scope. Cyber terrorism is an unlawful attack against computers or networks undertaken to intimidate a government or its people for a political or social agenda. Cyber terrorists are not just attacking computers, they are actually attacking the information systems to cause harm. The majority of attacks are unsuccessful and unreported, yet experts believe the threats are growing. Potential targets include the financial sector, infrastructure such as communications, utilities such as the electrical grid, transportation, and hospitals. In our second objective, malware, pick your poison, we will define the different types of malware and differentiate among the different types. Some of the key terms that you'll become familiar with in this objective will be adware, botnet, cookie, denial of service, keylogger, logic bomb, malware, payload, spam, rootkit, spyware, time bomb, Trojan horse, virus, and worm. Malware is malicious software that includes spam, adware and spyware, viruses, worms, Trojans, and rootkits. Spam and cookies, and we're not talking about the types that you eat. Spam is mass, unsolicited email. It is popular because it is easy and inexpensive to implement. Other forms include fax spam, instant message spam, and text spam. These are generally messages that are sent by companies that are unsolicited and typically undesired. Cookies are small text files that help websites identify you when you return to them. Although it is useful, it could be used to collect information that you do not want to share. Websites, such as in the example here, Amazon.com, use cookies to remember you when you return to a site, as displayed by the username here. Cookies are also used to identify or determine whether you visit a particular point or spot within the site and helps you to navigate back to locations that you've been in before. Generally, cookies will do this by changing the text or the hyperlinks within a site to a different color, indicating that you've already visited this particular link. Adware and spyware. Adware shows you ads, usually in the form of pop-ups or banner ads in websites and in software. Ads are used to generate income for the software developer or the website owner. When these ads use CPU cycles and internet bandwidth, it can reduce PC performance. Spyware, however, is a form of malware that secretly gathers personal information about you and your computer. It is usually installed by accident by the user, who clicks on a pop-up or installs freeware programs that then installs a tracking feature. Although this is not the best example of adware, this Netflix banner ad at the bottom of the AIM screen illustrates adware as a nuisance. This is different from adware that gives you continual pop-up screens, which can be even more annoying. This type of banner ad is very common and typically imposes no harm unless there is something embedded in it. Another form of cyber threat are bombs. which would include logic bombs and time bombs. A logic bomb is like a virus in that it performs a malicious act, yet it does not replicate itself like a virus. It attacks when certain conditions are met. For example, an employee name is removed from a database. These are often used by disgruntled IT employees. When the trigger is a specific time or event, a logic bomb is called a time bomb. Examples of triggers include April Fool's Day or Friday the 13th. Like viruses, worms are self-replicating, but they do not need a host to travel. Worms are capable of traveling over networks, and once a network is infected, a worm travels over the network looking for other machines to infect. Conficker is a worm that was first released in 2008, and it prevented infected computers from connecting to software update websites, thereby disabling antivirus software. In 2010, it reemerged with new disruptive behaviors. A Trojan Horse, or Trojan, is a program that appears to be legitimate, but is actually something malicious instead. Trojans might install adware, a toolbar, or a keylogger, or open a backdoor to your system. A keylogger is a program that captures information a user enters into their keyboard, such as a user ID or a password. Keyloggers might be installed as a Trojan and then reside unnoticed within the infected machine. They wait for the user to enter in usernames and passwords, or such information as credit card numbers. Then, after gathering this information, the Trojan will then transmit it to its owner, the information that has been collected. A famous Trojan is the Cinewall Trojan Horse, which was used by criminals to steal more than 500,000 banking passwords and credit card numbers over a 3-year period. A rootkit is a set of programs that allows someone to gain control over a computer system while hiding the fact that the computer has been compromised. A rootkit is also or almost impossible to detect. It allows the machine to become further infected by masking the behavior of other malware. In Objective 3, Shields Up, we will discuss the important steps to keep a system secure, list the different software needed to keep the system secure, list the different hardware needed to keep your system secure, and then finally discuss why it is important to keep the OS up to date. Some of the key terms in this objective are anti-spyware software, antivirus programs, firewall, NAT, router, security suite, and finally wireless encryption. A firewall is designed to block unauthorized access to your network, but a software firewall blocks access to only an individual machine. Windows 7 monitors incoming and outgoing network requests and protects you from local network threats as well as those from the internet. Antivirus programs protect against viruses, trojans, worms, and even some spyware, while anti-spyware software prevents adware and spyware software from installing itself on your computer. Security suites are packages of security, including anti-spyware and antivirus software. When working to protect your computer, there are several hardware components that you might want to consider. At home, you should use a router, a device that connects 2 or more networks together. The router acts like a firewall, as it prevents unauthorized access to your personal network at home. A router can be customized to allow certain applications through while denying others. This is especially important if you like to play online games. NAT, or Network Address Translation, is another security feature on your router. A NAT shields devices on the private network, namely within your home, from the public network out on the internet. Devices inside your network at home can communicate with each other directly, but any outside communication must go through the router. Wireless routers have all the same features as a wired router, and they provide what is called a wireless access point to your network. The wireless access point is used to allow your laptops and other wireless devices to connect to your network at home. This can be, however, a potential security risk if it is not properly secured. You should change the network name or the SSID, Service Set Identifier, from the factory default, and potentially even hide the SSID from being transmitted. You should also enable wireless encryption. This adds security by encrypting data that is being transmitted between your laptop and your wireless access point. Continuing on with protecting your computer system, the operating system of your computer is a very important component that must be protected. The operating system is the most important piece of security software, and it is best to keep it patched and namely up to date with the latest revisions. The Windows 7 Action Center is a place to verify if your computer is being protected and whether or not it is receiving periodic updates from Microsoft. Users need to be proactive and diligent in protecting their computer systems and, again, most importantly, their operating system. In Objective 4, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, we will discuss why practicing safe computing is critical to protecting your system and your personal information. Next, discuss the strong passwords and encryption, and finally discuss the importance of an acceptable user policy or use policy. Some of the terms that we will discuss in this objective include acceptable use policy or AUP, ciphertext, encryption, and user account control or UAC. In most computer systems, the operating system often provides three types of user accounts: standard, administrator, and guest. A user account control will notify you before changes are made to your computer. Do not turn off the UAC feature, and remember to always read messages before clicking yes. Malware can trick users into clicking fake Windows notifications. So again, it's important not to turn this feature off and to read all messages carefully before you say yes to avoid potentially installing malicious software. One of the best practices in safe computing is creating and using strong passwords. Here are some of the rules that you should consider when creating a password to make it strong. The more rules you apply to your passwords, the stronger these passwords will be. And again, password strength is basically making the password difficult for someone to guess or find out. So these rules would include: use at least 8 characters for your passwords. Within the password, you want to use at least one number, such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If allowed, use a special character. This particular option is relatively new. Special characters would include the pound sign, the @ sign, a plus sign, and so on. Next, consider using both mixed uppercase and lowercase letters in your password. You should have one of each at a minimum. Use different passwords for different accounts. If a particular password is compromised, then only one account will be compromised, not all of them. If you use the same password on all of your accounts, then it makes it much easier for hackers to, once breaking into one, being able to break into many of your accounts. So again, use different passwords for different accounts. Use difficult passwords for your bank and credit cards. By following these rules here, you will make your passwords difficult. Change default passwords. Often, new software or hardware devices come with default passwords set by the manufacturer. Hackers know what these default passwords are and will often attempt to use these passwords when first attempting to hack into a system. So when you get a new piece of software or a new piece of hardware, the first thing you should do is change the vendor's default passwords. Next, change your passwords on a regular basis. Often it's recommended every 30 days to change your password. Do not use words found in the dictionary for creating your password. So avoid typical words. Do not use any kind of personal identifiers, such as your name, your birth date, or any other personal information. Again, trying to avoid things that would be easy to guess at by a hacker. And then finally, and this may be difficult, do not write them down. If someone finds this, most particularly in a work environment, they potentially could hack into your system and perform malicious acts, and very possibly those malicious acts would come back on you because they used your user ID and password to get into the system. So again, it's very important to create strong passwords. Another best practice with respect to safe computing is the use of encryption. Encryption converts unencrypted plain text into code called ciphertext. To read encrypted information, you must have the appropriate key to decipher it. And you also need to be sure that it is used in a secure website. You can check this by looking for the HTTPS in the URL or the padlock in the address bar. So above, you will notice in the address we have HTTPS, which means the Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, which is the S. And that tells you that you're using a secure protocol. The other thing you can look for is a padlock over here, whether the lock is open or closed. You want it to be closed. And when you are using sites such as bank sites, such as credit card sites, or any kind of e-commerce site where you're purchasing something and you may be entering in credit card information or personal information, you want to make sure that you're either using HTTPS or that lock symbol is in place. Many businesses and schools have an acceptable use policy, or AUP, that computer and network users must abide by. Restrictions depend on the type of business and the type of information you need to access. Although these policies can be restrictive and annoying, they force users to practice safe computing. In objective number 5, the law is on your side, we will discuss the responsibility of the Internet Crime Compliance Center, or IC3. Then move on to discussing current laws in place to protect users on the Internet. A key term in this objective will be the Internet Crime Compliance Center, or IC3. Because crimes are varied, there is no single authority responsible for investigating cybercrime. The Internet Crime Compliance Center, the IC3, is a place for victims to report cybercrimes. At their website, ic3.gov, a report is processed and forwarded to the appropriate agency, Agencies include the FBI, the U.S. Secret Service, the U.S. Immigration and Customs, U.S. Postal Inspection Service, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. In 1986, the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act was passed, making it a crime to access classified information. There were several amendments between 1988 and 2002 that added additional cyber crimes. The USA Patriot anti-terrorism legislation in 2001 and the Cybersecurity Enhancement Act of 2002 also include provisions for fighting cybercrime. Countries around the world have been trying to create a unified and united system. The Council of Europe drafted the Convention on Cybercrime Treaty. It has been signed by over 40 countries, including the United States, Canada, and Japan. In our final objective, number 6, what can I do with the knowledge about security and privacy? We will identify the certifications related to security and privacy, and then identify the careers related to security and privacy. There are many career opportunities related to computer security and privacy. Yet, it does require a lot of education and experience to be successful. CompTIA and Cisco offer vendor-neutral security certifications for experienced IT professionals. The International Council of E-Commerce, or EC Council, offers several certifications, including Certified Ethical Hacker, CEH, and the Computer Hacking Forensics Investigator, or CHFI, certifications for Information System Security Professionals, or CISSP, and the Global Information Assurance Certification Program. Most of these certifications require previous work experience and education. The outlook for computer security careers is positive. Upper-level positions require several years of experience, a bachelor's degree, and industry-level certifications. There are entry-level positions available that have less demanding requirements.